بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. قال شيخ الإمام العالم العلام المحقق أبو عبد الله محمد السنوسي الحسني رحمه الله تعالى ورضي الله عنه آمين. الحمد لله. الحكم إثبات أمر أو نفيه، وينقسم إلى ثلاثة أقسام: شرعي وعادي وأقلي. So Imam Sanusi says that relations or attributions are either to establish something for something else or to negate it. It's divided into three types: things that are established or negated for an essence on the basis of Sharia, on the basis of divine legislation, on the basis of experience or empirical knowledge, and on the basis of reason. فالشرعي هو خطاب الله تعالى المتعلق بأفعال المكلفين بالطلب والإباحة أو الوضع لهما ويدخل. Right. So by Shari we mean the address of God that is connected to the actions of those morally responsible, either in terms of a request, or in terms of permission, or in terms of situationally modifying or laying out the conditions for something. ويدخل في الطلب أربعة: الإيجاب والندب والتحريم والكراهة. Requesting God, the request of God in regards to, or the demand of God in regards to the actions of those morally responsible, are of four types: obligating, recommending, prohibiting, and disapproving. فالإيجاب طلب الفعل طلبا جازما كالإيمان بالله وبرسوله وكقواعد الإسلام الخمس. Necessitating is to demand or to request an action definitively, like the demand to believe in God and His Messenger, and the five foundational practices, the five pillars of Islam. والندب هو طلب الفعل طلبا غير جازم كالصلاة الفجر ونحوها. Recommending is to demand an action in a way that is not definitive, like the two rakats of the two sunnahs of Fajr and the like. والتحريم هو طلب الكف عن الفعل طلبا جازما كالشرب الخمر والزنا ونحوها. Prohibiting is a definitive demand that you leave, or that you avoid a particular action, like drinking alcohol or adultery and so forth. والكراهة هي طلب الكف عن الفعل طلبا غير جازم كالقراءة في الركوع والسجود مثلا. And disapproving is the demand that you leave a particular action in a way, a non-definitive demand, that you leave it, i.e., and when we say definitive and non-definitive, definitive means there can be no question that this has been demanded, or that this has been asked of you, right? And it has been demanded of you. غير جازم, there is ambiguity about whether this is demanded of you or merely requested of you. Okay? Alright? So, karaha is when it is non-definitive request that you avoid a particular thing, like reciting Quran in ruku' and sajda. وأما الإباحة فهي إذن الشرع بالفعل وترك معا من غير ترجيح لأحدهما على الآخر كالنكاح والبيع مثلا. Permission is the permission of the, or ibaha is the permission of the lawgiver in terms that you to either do or not do a particular action without any preferring of one over the other. He says, like nikah or trade and so forth, in his madhab, of course. أما الوضع فهو عبارة عن نصب الشارع إمارة على حكم من تلك الأحكام الخمسة وهي السبب والشرط والمانع. وضع is an expression for the lawgiver establishing certain signs or certain indicators in regards to one of these 5 actions, or one of these 5 rulings, and it is divided into the sabab, which is the cause of the sufficient cause. The sabab is the sufficient cause. The shart is a necessary condition, and the mani' is a preventative. فالسبب ما يلزم من وجوده الوجود ومن عدمه العدم لذاته كزوال الشمس لوجوب الظهر. A sabab is that whose presence necessitates the action, or that brings the that causes the existence of the musabbab, right, of the thing caused by its presence, but without it the thing does not exist. Right? لذاته, that's not taking anything else into consideration. كزوال الشمس لوجوب الظهر, right? Like the declining of the sun from midday being the sabab, being the cause of the necessity of dhuhr, right? That's the sabab. لذاته, in and of itself, that's not taking other things into consideration. So the declining of the sun does not necessitate dhuhr for a woman in hayd, for example, right? Because that's, although the declining of the sun in and of itself necessitates the dhuhr prayer, a particular person may have something that prevents them from performing the action anyway, or prevents that ruling from becoming mandatory, like the presence of hayd, for example. والشرط ما يلزم من عدمه العدم ولا يلزم من وجوده الوجود ولا عدم لذاته كتمام الحول مثلا لوجوب الزكاة. The shart is a precondition, that which if it is absent then the ruling is absent, or the mashrut is absent. Its presence, however, may or may not be sufficient to bring about the thing that is conditioned. Okay, example, the passing of a year for the obligation of zakat. So a year passes over you. If it hasn't been a year, there's definitely no zakat. Zakat is not wajib. If it has been a year that has passed over your wealth, zakat may still not be wajib, because maybe you don't have enough money, or you don't have the right kind, or what have you. Okay? والمانع ما يلزم من وجوده العدم ولا يلزم من عدمه وجود ولا عدم لذاته كالحيض لوجوب الصلاة. So the mani', the preventative, is if it is present, the ruling is absent. Okay? But if it's absent, the ruling may be present, may not be present. So it's the exact opposite of a shart. Okay? The example here is hayd in regards to the obligation of prayer. In the presence of hayd means the absence of the obligation of prayer. The absence of hayd does not necessarily mean the presence of the obligation of prayer. Okay? Because you can, a 5-year-old child does not have hayd. That doesn't mean the prayer is obligatory. Okay? Then he moves on. أما الحكم العادي وهو إثبات الرتب بين أمر وأمر وجودا أو عدما بواسطة التكرر مع صحة التخلف وعدم التأثير أحدهما على الآخر البتة. Empirical attributions or empirical relations. This is the establishment of a connectedness between one thing and another thing, either in terms of presence or absence. In a way, بواسطة التكرر, which means in a repeated way, or it's established by virtue of its repetition. That relationship is established by, you always see these things together. Okay? مع صحة التخلف, but it is logically possible, or it is valid to separate them from each other, if you like. So every time the body of the sun rises above the horizon, the sky lights up. Okay? But you can imagine the body of the sun rising over the horizon and the sky not lighting up. You can imagine the sky lighting up without the sun rising over the horizon. Okay? So there is that constant connection of the two, but you can separate them. This is the sihhat at-takhalluf. You can separate them from each other. Okay. وعدم التأثير أحدهما على الآخر البتة. And theologically, there is no necessary causal relationship between one and the other. Right? There's no necessary causal relationship. There's no ta'thir. The first thing does not bring about the second thing. Okay? And there are 4 categories. رتب وجود بوجود, and رتب وجود بوجود كرتب وجود الشبع بوجود الأكل, ورتب عدم بعدم كرتب عدم الشبع بعدم الأكل, ورتب وجود بعدم كرتب الوجود الجوع بعدم الأكل, ورتب عدم الوجود بوجود كرتب عدم الجوع بوجود الأكل. So 4 things. 4 types of hukm adi here. The presence of something brings about is connected to the presence of another thing. The absence of one thing is connected. So the presence of A is connected to the presence of B. The absence of A is connected to the absence of B. The presence of A is connected to the absence of B, and the absence of A is connected to the presence of B. The example is the relationship between eating and satiation. In the presence of eating, there is satiation. In the absence of eating, there is an absence of satiation. In the presence of hunger, there is an absence of in the absence of eating, there is the presence of hunger, and in the presence of eating, there is the absence of hunger. Thus, وأما الحكم العقلي وهو إثبات أمر أو نفيه بغير توقف على تكرر ولا وضع واضع. The hukm aqli is to establish or negate something without one thing for another, without any dependence upon repeated observance or the establishment of one who establishes it. Okay, so this is the establishment of one thing for another by pure function of the intellect. By pure function of the intellect. وأقسامه ثلاثة, 3 categories: الوجوب والاستحالة والجواز. Necessity, impossibility, and permissibility or possibility. فالواجب ما لا يتصور في العقل عدمه إما ضرورة كتحيز للجرم مثلا، وإما نظرا كوجوب القدم لمولانا عز وجل. والمستحيل ما لا يتصور في العقل وجوده إما ضرورة كتعري الجرم عن الحركة والسكون، وإما نظرا كالشريك لمولانا عز وجل. والجائز ما يصح في العقل وجوده وعدمه، وإما ضرورة كالحركة لنا، وإما نظرا كتعذيب المطيع وإثابة العاصي. So he talks about the logical categories, the 3 types. A necessary relationship, that which the intellect cannot conceive of its absence, either immediately, like the fact that a body has to have dimensions. A physical body has to have dimensions. Okay? And sometimes it is only clear that it is a logical necessity after reflection, nazran, كوجوب القدم, like the necessity of God's pre-eternality. How do you know God is pre-eternal? Well, you have to. So daruratan, it's like a premise. It's an a priori premise that just straight into your head. Yeah, can you imagine a body that has neither length, width, or breadth? A body with neither length, width, or breadth. No. Right, because the definition of a body is something that has length, width, and breadth. Alright? And so it is impossible for that thing to not have length, width, and breadth. Hence, it is wajib, it is logically necessary for a body to have length, width, and breadth. That's an immediate thing. Okay? Nadharan means you've got to construct a syllogism, effectively. Right? It's the result of a deductive analysis, and you realize there's no way out. There's no way out of this, right? All men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. Socrates has to be, if the premises are correct, Socrates has to be mortal. So the statement Socrates is mortal is a logical necessity by virtue of that analogy that you've constructed, effectively. Yeah? So, by virtue of the syllogism, I should say, that you've constructed. Okay? So this is what nazaran means. The logically absurd, the logically is impossible, is the logically impossible is the opposite of this. Do you want to put the lights on while you're here? Yeah, is the opposite of this. Okay, that whose existence cannot be, that whose existence cannot be conceived of by the mind. Okay, he gives an example of a body being free of either movement or stillness. So can you imagine a body that is neither moving nor still? No, it's a logical absurdity, right? And sometimes it's only after reflection. So for example, the presence of God having a partner. Well, jaiz, and the jaiz, the logically possible, is that for which you can imagine both its existence and its non-existence. So the existence of the universe, movement for us, you can imagine yourself moving or not moving, and so forth. وَالْمَذَاهِبُ فِي الْأَفْعَالِ ثَلَاثَةٌ. There are three schools of thought in regards to volitional actions: مذهب الجبرية, مذهب القدرية, ومذهب أهل السنة. These three. مذهب الجبرية وجود الأفعال كلها بالقدرة الأزلية. Now you see, قدرة الأزلية, it's what we covered right at the end, right? Right? وجود الأفعال كلها بالقدرة الأزلية فقط من غير مقارنة بقدرة الحادثة. Right? Why am I talking? Why am I talking? Okay, according to the Jabariyah, my talking is purely, things that I'm saying are purely on the basis of God's pre-eternal power, and there is no connection to any temporal power. Okay, so I am not moving my mouth. Allah is moving my mouth. Okay, and therefore I have no choice in the way in which my mouth moves and what type of sound comes out of it. Right? So going back to this, our 6 things that we said, right? So when I open my mouth, where I open my mouth, what shape I put my mouth in, what words I form, the qualities, the loud, soft, sarcastic, kind, all these different qualities. I am not choosing any of them. Allah is choosing all of them. Okay? ومذهب القدرية وجود الأفعال الاختيارية بالقدرة الحادثة فقط مباشرة أو تولدا. Then the madhab of the Qadariyah, right, which is that what I am saying at the moment is purely from my own power. It's nothing to do with the power of Allah. Nothing to do with the power of Allah at all, right? And either I am doing it of my own accord, or it is being brought, tawallud means it is being brought into existence by a natural process, effectively. Okay? ومذهب أهل السنة وجود الأفعال كلها بالقدرة الأزلية فقط مع مقارنة الأفعال الاختيارية بقدرة حادثة لا تأثير لها ولا مباشرة ولا تولدا. And then the madhab of the Ahl Sunnah, which is that what I'm saying at the moment is the power of God, is powered by God, right? Is part of God's pre-eternal power, but it is connected also to my own temporal and relative ability. Okay? Although my own temporal ability has no power independently to bring it into effect, right, by any means. Okay? So there is a connection between the two. Alright? أما الكسب فهو عبارة عن تعلق القدرة الحادثة بالمقدور في محلها من غير تأثير. Kasb is an expression used to connect. So, what relation does given what he's just said there, my speech at the moment is through the power of God, through the power of Allah, as is everything else. But there is this connection. What is that connection with my own relative, and temporal contingent power? It is called kasb. Kasb is the connection. And kasb means acquisition. It is an expression used to connect the contingent power and will and so forth that I have to that which has been decreed by God, that which has been brought into existence by God in its place without actually causing the effect. So here's God's power, there's the effect. That goes. Right? So the Jabariyah, they say that's all there is. God's power, effect, done. God causes, there's the effect. And you're kind of over there somewhere. Right? The Qadariyah say, no, it's my power, effect. Right? So the Jabariyah and the Qadariyah. Right? My power, effect. Right? Jabariyah, God's power, effect. The Ahlul Sunnah, God's power, effect, but it's connected, but my power is connected to it as well, and it's connected, and this connection here is called kasb. It's called kasb, acquisition. I acquire responsibility for what has been decreed on the basis of my own will and power. Alright, and hence I am responsible, I have a responsibility for the effect. I cannot say that I have no responsibility for the effect. Okay? Khair. But we'll talk a lot about that in the Jawhara, don't worry about that. أنواع الشرك ستة. The types of shirk are 6. شرك الاستقلال وهو إثبات إلهين مستقلين كشرك المجوس، وشرك التبعيد وهو تركيب الإله من آلهة كشرك النصارى، وشرك التقريب وهي عبادة غير الله تعالى ليقرب إلى الله زلفى كشرك المقدم الجاهلية، وشرك التقليد وهو عبادة غير الله تعالى تبعا للغير وكشرك المتأخر الجاهلية، وشرك الأسباب وهي إسناد تأثير لأسباب العادية كشرك الفلاسفة والتباعيين ومن تبعهم على ذلك، وشرك الأغراض وهو عمل لغير الله تعالى. 6 types of shirk. Shirk al-istiqlal, the polytheism of setting up an independent deity. So 2 or more independent deities, pure polytheism, like the Zoroastrians, a god of good and a god of evil. Shirk al-tab'id, a partitive shirk. Alright, so it's dividing God up into parts. Alright, like the shirk of the Christians. Shirk al-taqrib, which is to worship other than Allah in order to draw near to Allah, which is the shirk of the early, the forerunners of the Jahili Arabs. Where shirk al-taqlid, shirk that comes about purely by following هذا ما وجدنا عليه آباؤنا, this is what we found our fathers doing. Okay, so we do it too, worshipping other than Allah. You've forgotten why you worship other than Allah. You simply worship other than Allah because that's what everyone did before you. Okay? Shirk al-asbab, which is to attribute cause to min asbab al-adiyah, min asbab al-adiyah, which is to attribute a causal effect to other than God, like the shirk of the philosophers and the naturalists and those who follow them, like scientists. Or shirk al-aghrad wa huwa al-amal li ghayri Allah, and the shirk of means or goals or motives, if you like, which is to perform acts of worship for other than God. Al-hukm al-arba'at al-awwali al-kufr bil-ijma'. The first 4 types are kufr by ijma'. Hukm al-sadis al-ma'asiyah min ghayri kufrin bi-ijma'. The 6th, which is to act for other than the sake of God, is a sin, but is not kufr by ijma'. وحكم الخامس تفصيل فيها ومن قال في الأسباب إنها تؤثر بطبعها فقد حكي الإجماع ولا كفره، ومن قال إنها تؤثر بقوة أو عده الله فيها وهو فاسق مبتدع وفي كفره قولان. The 5th type, there is the 5th type, which is this attribution of cause to other than Allah. There is a difference of opinion. If one says it is independent of God, that fire causes burning independently of God, there has been an ijma' narrated. This is kufr. That is to say, this it's kufr, at least by the opinion of most of the scholars, yeah, and maybe all of the scholars. If, however, it is said that they cause fire causes burning because of a certain quality that Allah has put into fire, then this is fisq and bid'ah, and some scholars say it's kufr, others say it's not. وأصول الكفر, the reasons that people fall into kufr and bid'ah, سبعة, are 7. إيجاب الذاتي, necessary emanation, وهو إسناد الكائنات إلى الله تعالى على سبيل التعليل أو الطبع من غير اختيار. That is to say that creation necessarily emanated off of God. He did not choose to create creation. Simply by the nature of God, creation came into existence. وتحسين العقلي وهو كون أفعال الله تعالى وأحكامه موقوفة عقلا على الأغراض وهي جلب المصالح ودرء المفاسد. That is to the deification of the intellect, or the deification of the of morality, that effectively God is bound by human standards of morality. Okay, God is bound by human standards of morality. That Allah's actions, Allah can only do the good. Allah can only do the good. Okay, and specifically, Allah can only do what we consider to be good, what is good in our eyes. And that's the the deification of the intellect. والتقليد الرديء وهو متابعة غير لأجل الحمية وتعصب من غير طلب للحق. Blameworthy follower, blameworthy imitation or following, which is to follow another because of partisanship or because of fanaticism without actually seeking the truth. والرتب العادي وهو إثبات التلازم بين أمر وأمر وجودا وعدما بواسطة التكرر. So this is, to naturalism, effectively, to say that things in and of themselves bring about effects, so to attribute causality to creation. Okay. والجهل المركب وهو أن يجهل الحق ويجهل جهله به. Compound ignorance, which is to be ignorant of the truth and to be ignorant of one's ignorance. والتمسك في عقائد الإيمان بمجرد ظواهر الكتاب والسنة من غير تفصيل بين ما يستحيل ظاهره منها وما لا يستحيل. The sixth is to hold is an unreasoning adherence to the outward meanings of the Quran and the Sunnah without distinguishing those things whose outward meanings are clearly impossible and those which are not. We gave the example of Allah descending to the lowest heaven in the last third of the night, and this entailing effectively God doing a Mexican wave around the planet. Alright, it's a ridiculous meaning. It makes no sense, because what is up, what is down? If you can't determine what up is and down is, then how are you supposed to, and so forth, yeah? والجهل بالقواعد العقلية, and ignorance of rational principles, of what you might call the laws of thought. التي هي العلم بوجوب الواجبات وجواز الجائزات والاستحالة المستحيلات وباللسان العربي الذي هو علم اللغة والإعراب والبيان. So ignorance of logical principles, to know, to attribute necessity to things that are logically necessary, absurdity to things that are logically absurd, and possibility to things that are logically possible, or ignorance of the Arabic language, and what so we gave the example of the ba, for example, subhanalladhi asra bi abdihi. Okay, glory be to the one who asra bi abdihi. And what's the meaning of the ba here? The ba can mean, using, so it could mean that God travelled by night using the Prophet ﷺ as his means of travel, alright, which is kufr. You can say that God travelled alongside the Prophet ﷺ. God travelled alongside the Prophet ﷺ, made the Isra to Jerusalem, and Allah was travelled with him, okay, which would need to be interpreted metaphorically. But if you interpret it literally, again, it's kufr, okay? Or this is a ba of ta'addi. It's a ba that takes a verb from being lazim to being muta'addi. All right, so it means glory be to the one who caused his servant to travel by night, which is the correct meaning. If you don't know that ba has several different meanings, you can fall in, this can be falling into either kufr or bid'ah. Now, and then what we covered today, وَالْمَوْجُودَاتِ بِالنِّسْبَةِ إِلَى الْمَحَلِّ وَالْمُخَصِّصِ أَرْبَعَةُ أَقْسَامٍ. Existent things in terms of their relationship to an essence within which to subsist, and a specifier or an existentiator are of four types. قسم غني عن المحل والمخصص وهو ذات الله تعالى، وقسم مفتقر إلى المحل والمخصص وهو الأعراض، وقسم مفتقر إلى المخصص دون المحل وهو الأجرام، وقسم موجود في المحل لا يفتقر إلى المخصص وهو صفات الله عز وجل, which we've covered. والممكنات المتقابلة ستة: الوجود والعدم والمقادير والصفات والأزمنة والأمكنة والجهات. These six things that are predicated, if you like, the six things that are the six foundational predications for existent things are existence, non-existence. Sorry, the six foundational predicates of possibly existent things, I have to be careful here, of possibly existent things, i.e. not God, are existence, non-existence, 1. Extent, 2. Attributes, 3. Time, 4. Place, 5. Direction, 6. وَالْقُدْرَةُ الْأَزْلِيَةُ, and then he goes on to the attributes of Allah, which we've covered. We won't cover those again, inshallah. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.